Yeah, no, hey, thanks for being here. We're excited about the start of our fall training and just continuing to build the team and our team chemistry and just tighten that inner circle. And it's been an awesome first month with a lot of classroom sessions and a lot of small group activity and some. You haven't really got into some extensive team type activity until yesterday, where we could really inter squad and do a little bit more baseball, baseball training, baseball game type play. But it's been great so far. The guys are bringing a ton of energy, and really pleased with just the progress we've made in a month. But this is just the beginning of this journey, and we have the highest of expectations, as everybody knows, and so we still have a lot of growth in a lot of areas. Still evaluating the team and each individual players, and they're still getting familiarized with maybe the training format and the tempo with which things go. But it's been all good, all positive so far, and just excited to keep going because it's more opportunity for growth, more opportunity to improve. And just continuing to build these relationships with these players and them with each other, and really just become a very, very close-knit team.
I could be wrong. Somebody said maybe you're making a little change, making some guys earn some things, access to the club, different things. What's that about, and what's kind of behind it?
Yeah, so we have a shared language, shared mentality inside of this program, and one of the part of the shared language is we get what we earn, and it speaks to a little bit bigger of a picture of student athletes in general, and in today's world. They get a lot. They're very fortunate at these premier institutions like Clemson to have everything that they have, and one of those things that as parents or as coaches that you may fight is a little bit of a sense of entitlement. And so we just want them to appreciate everything that they have here, because they have so much, and they do appreciate it. But we don't move into the locker room right away with a bunch of gear hanging in the lockers and a bunch of shoe boxes stacked up. Those are things they get to earn as they remove the target maybe from themselves and start to put it on other people. We had a great community service event here last Sunday, and we'll continue to do some community service activities where we get to engage in the community and serve other people. And those are all ways to earn more gear and earn more of our cool stuff, but also just appreciate the things that we do have.
Obviously, you lost some players from last year's squad. Max Wagner was a big one, but as you begin to piece together your roster, how much competition is there all over the field, particularly with the pitching staff and including the incoming freshmen?
Yeah, a lot of competition, a lot of depth from what it looks like early on. I mean, how do you replace the ACC Player of the Year and a guy like Max Wagner, who's just, such a stud? But he emerged and he became Max Wagner kind of in the second half of the season, and that's kind of what you hope to simulate, is just that idea of continual growth and improvement. And I think I read a stat that he had 8 or 9 home runs halfway through the season last year, and then ended up with 27 and became the ACC Player of the Year. So the message in there is that it's all about growth, it's all about improvement, it's all about competing and doing it one pitch, one game, one day at a time, and just seeing these guys learning from a guy like Max Wagner, that just keeping that target on, and continuing to improve, and it can accelerate a player, it can certainly accelerate a team.
And kind of piggybacking off David's question, is the culture inside the program something you thought needed changing when you got here?
No, Clemson baseball is Clemson baseball. I think culture is such a buzzword in college sports today. Culture is something that happens over a long period of time. I think what we can do as a coaching staff is create an environment every single day, an environment that's very structured and very disciplined, that's focused on a high level of compete and high energy, and just bringing a very high level of intensity. And the classroom curriculum, those things about character traits and leadership and servant behaviors, those things coupled with the environment that we're creating over time will create this culture. But the culture of Clemson baseball, that's been set and that's been, like bedrock for a long, long time. And yeah, we may have had a little dip there, but the environment that we're going to create on a daily basis, the players having the mindset on growth and improvement, that will all lead to a compound effect over time of restoring this program back to where it belongs, competing for championships and trips to Omaha.
I guess players like Riley and Willie, obviously we're at Michigan, come here to Clemson. What do they add in terms of, I guess, already an understanding of your culture and how things go and being able to help the players that way?
Yeah, it's great to have some players who are very well versed in just the day-to-day activities, how the training environment is structured, the pace and speed with which things move and transition from segment to segment. It's great to have those guys on board and be a sounding board for the other players. The intangible that they bring is experience. They've played in the College World Series for a national championship. They've both played in 3 regionals. They both bring, much like Tyler Corbett and Ben Blackwell and others who haven't necessarily been here for all of the years of their senior year till they get to their senior year. They just bring experience having at-bats or innings pitched inside of college baseball. They've had more birthdays, and just that experience will lead to allow them to slow the game down in big moments. But Willie and Riley in particular, their postseason experience is certainly an X factor that I know they've talked about with some of the other players, and they're able to to explain some things of maybe why we do some of the things we do and the way we do it. But they're learning too. I mean, they're learning Clemson, they're learning Clemson baseball, they're learning this university, this town, and it's new for them as well. So it's also very much an adjustment for them. But they've been a great addition to a team that's very talented. Just on paper and from first month's eyeballs test, it's a good looking group.
On the phone with a big time Clemson fan on the way here. He said it's hard to believe it's been 12 years, since a College World Series berth at Clemson. Is that hard for you to get your mind around that this program, it's kind of been that bit of a drought? And is that the goal, or what kind of goal do you have to set to where you do reach those heights?
Sure. Well, when it comes to goal setting, you have to know where you want to go. You have to know the destination, but you can't focus on the destination. Just like you can't say that you're going to ace a test without putting in the preparation of studying and doing all the things that it takes to ace the exam. You can't say go to Omaha, win a national championship without reducing that down to every day is very important for growth and development and improvement. So Omaha is the standard for Clemson baseball, has always been the standard for Clemson baseball. And I think the last 12 years speak more to the parity inside of college baseball. There's a lot of good teams. I mean, Michigan was in Omaha. That hasn't happened since the 80s. And so it's just, there's a lot of teams that are recruiting hard and developing their players well. Everybody's utilizing the latest technology and systems to help with accelerate their player development. So it's a more competitive environment, but this is Clemson. And Clemson baseball should compete for ACC championships and should compete for trips to the World Series. And so in order to get there, that didn't happen till June. And that's how important September 30th is. And every day we have moving forward, it's an important opportunity to get better and develop as a team.
How do you kind of see Caden Grice's role, and what do you want to see for him this fall?
Yeah, Caden wants to be a two-way player. He wants to pitch. He's playing a lot of first base right now, but he's been throwing his bullpens with Coach Bellinger and doing a fantastic job. I truly see him as a prominent two-way player in college baseball this year.
Speaking of Coach Bellinger, you brought him in to coach your pitchers from Florida State. Why him?
I've always been a big fan of Jimmy Bellinger. He tells a funny story. I don't remember this, but he was a coach at Monmouth University and wasn't old enough to rent a car. And so was bumming rides. He was a 24-year-old assistant coach, a pitching coach. And so he just hit me up in the parking lot and asked me for a ride to the next recruiting event, one field to the next field. And, I said, sure, yeah, come on. And but he and I have just had a connection in one way or another. Good friends with Dan McDonnell at Louisville, and Jimmy played for Coach Mack, went to the World Series with them back in '07. And then Jimmy was part of the staff that took over at Maryland after I left Maryland to go to Michigan, so I had a close eye on their program and just saw the development of the pitchers at Maryland and what he did to help them reach another level and get to 2 super regionals at Maryland, which at the time was just unprecedented. And then goes to Kentucky, and they're in a super regional right away, and developing first rounders like Zach Thompson. And then he goes to Florida State, and they've got 3 of their guys in their pitching rotation this year that were on Team USA this past summer. So it's a proven track record of development. But the thing I like the most is just always this feeling of this relentless attack on the strike zone. And always this feeling, even playing against his teams when Maryland and Michigan were in the Big Ten together, just this uncomfortable feeling when you're facing their pitchers, and just the mound presence and the compete and the way they attack. And now seeing the structure here over the last month, you can see why. It's something that's highly emphasized, that compete, that body language, that strikes, the strike percentage, and it's been fun to watch and fun to see our pitchers be in attack mode out there too.
How have you and your coaches been received out on the recruiting trail? Kind of getting back here into the Southeast a little bit more and picking up some new contacts, meeting with some guys you'd known before.
Yeah, it's been great. I mean, I think recruits are pretty fired up to see the Tiger Paw and want to be recruited by Clemson. Obviously, this is one of the blue bloods of college baseball and a traditional powerhouse. So I think everyone in this region is going to be interested. We'll at least be able to get our foot in the door. So it's been a warm reception so far, and recruiting has gone really, really well. And don't really see any reason why we can't compete to go after the best recruits in the country, and we have all the resources here to develop them as best as anyone in the country as well.
Can you speak some about the freshmen and some guys that might be able to help you right away that are coming in?
Yeah, quite a big freshman class. We were able to add a few to the class that was already in place. It was forget what the class was ranked, 16th or 17th, but it was well recognized. It was recognized as one of the top recruiting class. I think we can obviously do better as time goes on, but there's a lot of talent in that freshman class, a combination of good pitching, good hitting, speed, some power, just a good blend of what looks to be some pretty good athletes out there. Probably too early to tell. We usually try not to put too much stock into the first few months of a freshman's fall, just because they're getting acclimated to school and baseball in a new social setting and doing it all away from home. But some of these guys have acclimated quickly, and now we're starting to see their baseball abilities really shine. And these next 5-6 weeks will be very telling, and we're looking forward to evaluating that.
As far as the way the draft unfolded, just kind of what were your thoughts? Any guys you were pleasantly surprised made it, or any guys maybe you were hoping to get that ended up leaving?
Yeah, I think we all expected Brock Porter to sign, but it got dicey there where we thought he might come to school, but that was obviously a big time recruit and a tough loss for us. But we also had some players that had a lot of dialogue with professional baseball during the entire draft, and even discussing financial terms, like Tristan Smith and Jack Crichton and Nolan Naraki and Joe Allen and Nate Hall, and I'm sure there was someone else I'm leaving out, but they all could have signed professionally had they dropped their number that they would have signed for. So that's kind of the point, that it's a very talented class with some guys that have high ceilings, and what they do between right now and over the next few years will determine that. But from just a skill set alone, the high-end talent of this freshman class, as well as the depth of the athleticism seems to be very good.
Everybody knows what Max Wagner did. Everybody, first name out here is Caden Grice, but you got a guy sitting right here beside you that puts together as good as and at bat as anybody in the country. Doesn't mind going to left field. Doesn't mind going up the middle.
Who, Ryan Ammons?
hitting with 2 strikes. How important is it to have a guy like that back here leading the way?
Well, Cooper's we value plate discipline and quality contact and consistent contact, and Cooper is as good as anyone I've seen in college baseball at swinging at strikes and taking balls. He just makes very good decisions at the plate, and that leads to a lot of consistent hard contact because he's very good. When he swings the bat touches the ball, and a lot of times he squares it up pretty hard. So he's a very valuable piece of our offense. He's a table setter. He's a high on base percentage guy, and he's a guy who can, he can hit it through a shift. He can turn on it and hit it over the fence. I mean, he's just he's a very, very polished, good hitter, and so we'll lean on him a lot and be a great guy to have setting the table for us.
We got time for 2 more.
At what point will you get to see Will Taylor?
Well, I always hope that it's either untouched to the end zone or a fair catch. No, we'll see him after football season, but so excited for him and the success that he's having and the opportunities that he's getting. He's a fantastic athlete, phenomenal athlete. But we'll see him after football season, and we'll be ready for him to make an impact onto the team as well.
Coach Lee was obviously an offensive-minded coach. Played a little bit more small ball last year than he had historically. But how would you describe your coaching philosophy, your style, what you want to do out there, and how dependent is what you want to do on the personnel you have?
I think as a coach, you have to tailor your schemes and your philosophies to the personnel you have. Luckily for us, we've got a lot of depth on the pitching mound. We like guys that can absolutely attack the strike zone, and with the pitching staff that we have, especially some of that veteran leadership that's back with Coach Bellinger, that certainly looks to be a strength. From an offensive standpoint, we love balance. We love the combination of speed and power. And we certainly seem to have that with, just looking at the guys who are returning. We're returning starters with the addition of a few. We'll be able to, looks like we'll be able to slug a little bit, and we'll be able to steal some bases, go first to third, take some extra 90s, utilize the speed a little bit component as well. Bunting, personally, we'll use it if we need it late. Not a huge guy to exercise small ball, especially going first to second. We'll do it more second to third just to create more runs, but we also don't believe in having 9 independent contractors go up to the plate just trying to get their Twitter swing off. We believe in having a super run scoring team and guys that are connected and passing the baton and having quality at bats and one at bat connected to the next one, and the base runners understanding that they have a job to do until they touch home plate, and the hitters understanding that they may need to move a guy over and get a guy in, and understand how that impacts plate decisions and the pitches that they go after. So we'll tailor this. Our offense will be about scoring runs, and the 9 guys that go up to that plate will try to score as many runs as possible.
All right. Thank you, Coach.